You are now listening to the Box Seat Boys podcast.
What's up, guys? It's Josh back with episode 7 of the Boxy Boys podcast. I hope everyone is enjoying the short week. If you have a short week, if not, let's get through it at least to Thanksgiving, get some good eatings in and watch some good sports this week. Some interesting things going on around in the sporting world. So let's kick it off right with this headline segment here.
Boxy Boys Sports Headlines.
The Broncos, they're done with Mike McCoy, fired him. They said 6-game losing streak, averaging 14.2 points a game is just not going to cut it. Front office basically said, which kind of, this really surprises me that this was their reason. The office didn't evolve enough since putting Brock Osweiler in the start. What did they think was going to happen? Did they think Osweiler was going to come in and it was going to change the narrative of their season, going to change their offense? Osweiler's not a good quarterback. Put this into perspective for a second. Brock Osweiler was cut by the Browns. He was cut by the Cleveland Browns, who can't seem to win a game. He wasn't even good enough. He was even owed money. He was getting guaranteed money, and they still cut him because they didn't think he was good enough to be on that team. So what makes that front office of Denver think he's better than 14.2 points a game? Why does that fall on Mike McCoy? I understand there's underlying things. There's other things that led to this. But when you give an offensive coordinator a guy like Brock Osweiler, don't expect him to put up 40 points a game or, a 13-3 season, because it's not going to happen. It's just not. Brock Osweiler's 53% completion percentage this year. 3 touchdowns, 4 picks. 65.5% passer rating. That's the kind of quarterback he is. He is barely below average quarterback. He's almost terrible. Almost terrible. He's pretty bad. Last season, 61.8% completion percentage. Under 3,000 yards. 15 TDs, 16 interceptions. And I think he played 15 games for the Texans. He's not a good quarterback. Why did the front that quote, the offense didn't evolve enough since starting Osweiler? That just doesn't make sense to me, because I don't know what they thought was going to happen. I understand, like I said, there's other things, underlying things, probably things inside the organization that are going on. But the quarterback play of Osweiler is not McCoy's fault. Him gone now, is that going to turn around the team? Not in my opinion. I don't think now that he's gone, this offense is going to figure it out. They're going to get into a new system. Osweiler's going to be QB or whoever, and they're going to be okay. I just don't see that happening. But the decision's been made. I'm interested to see how the Broncos. It's not like I said, I'm not expecting to see Osweiler come out and, his next game go 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, or anything like that. He's just not that quarterback. He's not that quarterback. Another football move. This is on the college side of things. Chip Kelly met with the Florida Gators about the head coaching position. Now, Chip Kelly obviously didn't have the career he was hoping for in the NFL, but he had a tremendous coaching experience and career in college in Oregon. I think he is the guy that you want if you're a Florida Gators fan. Because you guys have made it to SEC title games and had pretty good success. No, not national championship success, but pretty good success with bad offenses. SEC title games, pretty reasonable records this year. Not great. But Chip Kelly's the kind of guy that can turn that offense around. He's the kind of guy that people want to play for. He's that quote unquote player's coach in from what I've seen. So when you put what his offense, his mindset, his spread offense, quick, they're gonna try and run as many plays as possible. He's gonna get speed guys in there. That's exciting for Gator fans. That's exciting for future Gator players. And that's the thing. Chip Kelly was in Oregon, so he was recruiting against the USC's, UCLA's, stuff like that, Stanford. Now he's gonna, if he gets this position, shift to the East Coast and recruit in that Florida Southeast region, which is one of, if not the most talented group of high school athletes. You always have Texas, California, Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, those areas, but Florida is one of those places where you want to own that pool. And he's going to go up against Florida State, and he's going to go, Alabama goes down there, now Lane Kiffin's down there, but he can recruit with the best of them. He can recruit with those guys. So I think with his recruiting ability, his reputation for the offense that he runs, he's going to get a lot of kids that want to play in that system from Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. He's going to get a lot of those kids, even kids up in Ohio and stuff that want to come down south and play. There's going to be kids excited to play in his system, and especially the talent in Florida. They're going to want to play those fast, shifty receivers, those dual threat quarterbacks. Those guys are, it's like they breed them in Florida, and that's exactly the type of player that's going to fit in Chip Kelly's offense. I would expect this, as long as Chip Kelly agrees, Florida, that's your guy. That is your guy. That's who you want. If you don't get him, there's going to be another team saying that, hey, he's thinking about getting back in the coaching ranks. He's met with Florida. They couldn't agree. Let's get that guy. That's our guy. So scoop him up now, because you're gonna want him and hold him for a long time. I mean, this team could become, if you remember when Tim Tebow was there and Chris Leak and those guys, when Urban Meyer was the coach, the potential that Chip Kelly could bring to Florida again is that potential, that high level that Urban had them playing at. National championships, SEC championships. This Florida team could control the SEC East for a long time once he starts getting his recruits in there, if he gets this position. I don't see the Gators going anywhere else, if Chip Kelly really wants the position, I just think it's his. I wouldn't even bother interviewing anyone else until I heard from Chip Kelly if he's in or not. If he's in, he's got the job. He's too good to pass up. Some of the other headlines in not only football but across sports. College football playoff. I mean, nothing really changed. Every top 10 team, I should say, won, I believe. Couple notes: Miami didn't look great. If you listen to last week's show, I did say they were kind of in that letdown spot after a big win, and they almost did it. They almost blew the game against Virginia. If you look at the score, I can't remember what it was. I think it was 44-28, if I remember correctly. But it was a close game for a long time. They didn't force 4 turnovers like they have been in the previous, 4 games or whatever it was. It was only 3 this time, but the turnover chain was brought out a few times. They just didn't look good, and that concerns me moving forward. That definitely concerns me moving forward. I don't think they're going to drop out of the top 5, but they could. And the one reason I think it's possible is Wisconsin went out and beat Michigan. Only ranked matchup last week, and they went ahead and beat them 24-10. They were down 10-7, and then scored 17 unanswered. It looked like an upset for a while. But I do believe the better team won the game, and it showed at the end of the game. Wisconsin was just the better team. Michigan had their quarterback go out. That was a big deal. Losing your quarterback, they really couldn't do much after that. But I don't know how much of a factor that. It might have been a closer game, but I don't think it was going to determine the fact that Wisconsin was going to win that game no matter what, in my opinion. With them beating Michigan and that being the only ranked game, that might boost them into the top 4. It might. They might squeak in. Here's the reason I don't think that's going to happen. They were losing most of that game. They were outplayed most of that game, and it took what the committee might see as Michigan's quarterback to get hurt before they really took control of that game. So a win's a win, but that could have easily been a loss. And you can say that about a lot of teams this year. But the fact that this was their only quote-unquote big win on their resume, the fact that they were losing most of the game could hurt them. Now, the matchup they have in the Big Ten title game against Ohio State, the way Ohio State's playing, especially if Ohio State beats Michigan, that could catapult them in depending on what happens in the ACC title game. But we're still a couple weeks away from that. The Giants and the Marlins, moving on to some baseball talk. The Giants and the Marlins, the talks about the Giancarlo Stanton trade are getting more serious. And here's how the trade would break down. Stanton and D. Gordon would go to the Giants. And the Marlins would get back Joe Panic, Tyler Beede, and Chris Shaw. Beede, a minor league pitcher, Shaw, a minor league outfielder. Those two guys, Beede and Shaw respectively, are the second and third ranked prospect in the Giants organization. Both of them are at the AAA level. Obviously, if you're second and third in the organization and the minor league level, prospect-wise, you're pretty good, and that's exactly what I mentioned it before. The Marlins are looking for. They're looking for the contract to be moved, but they also want some prospects in there. Plus, they're going to get Joe Panic, not a bad player. So they're going to get the contract off the books. They're going to get 2 really good young players. it looks like the Giants are taking the lead here, but it seems like the Dodgers and Cardinals are still in the mix. The Dodgers are, I read a headline. I didn't read the whole report, but the headline said if Stanton wants LA, he'll get LA. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure if he says that LA is the favorite, then LA will, put all the chips on the table and go for him. That might be hard to do for them. But at the same time, they also made blockbuster trades in the past. Red Sox fans remember when they did us a favor and took, Beckett and Crawford and those guys off our books. That was huge. So they have the highest payroll. Why stop here and just add another $25 million a year onto the contract or onto the payroll? So Giants look like they're in the front right now as the leader for this, but you never know with the Dodgers and of course the Cardinals. They always like to, put their nose in it. So we'll see what happens. Keep your eye on that. Celtics looking good. Celtics are looking good. 16 straight. Kyrie dropped 47 points. So here's the thing. Kyrie he hasn't looked amazing every game, which to me, yeah, you want your best player to look good consistently all the time. But what's encouraging to me about this, even when Kyrie doesn't play or that game he was shaken up early, they're winning games with the talent around Kyrie. Tatum, Horford. I mean, everyone has their role, and they're playing tremendously. So they will. I think they play the Heat next. I think they're going to look to make it 17 in a row, which is unbelievable. If anyone ever said Kyrie didn't make the right move, which there are some people, to me, this is just proving he made the right role. He looks comfortable. He looks to be happier. I mean, I don't know if you can really... I guess you can be pretty miserable playing basketball, but, he looks like he's getting along with the guys. They're all young guys. It's a really young team. It's like the third youngest team or something like that in the NBA. He's in a spot where if he really likes the city of Boston and really likes the guys, he's the leader of that team. He's pretty much the face. That's a team that can be really good for a really long time. And it's really encouraging for Celtics fans. It's really encouraging for basketball fans as a whole, because maybe we won't see Warriors and Cavs again. Maybe we won't. Steph Curry, said that it's a real deal. That's a real possibility that, they face the Celtics, which people are already putting them in the finals, which could not happen. But people are saying Warriors Celtics, and he made a little joke saying that he thinks Boston weather, or he heard that the weather in Boston in June is really nice. So it's really early in the season, but it's really encouraging to see a 16-game winning streak out of the first 18 games. Some more baseball news. Major League Baseball is considering the 22nd pitch clock for the 2018 season. And if anybody knows me, they know how I feel about the rule changes in baseball. I'll keep my opinion out of this a little bit just because it's not implemented, so I'll wait until it happens to get into it a little bit. But I did a little research on what exactly is going to happen. So with the 20-second clock, it's not all the time, which was my concern. My concern was every pitch is going to be on that 20-second clock. As a matter of fact, the rule they're trying to instate is it's when runners are not on base, which makes it a little bit better. Because if there's runners on base, there's going to be stolen bases. There's going to be problems. It's not a cat and mouse game. Holding runners is going to be more difficult. It's going to be easier for the runner to, it's tough to do. So it's only for when runners are not on base. Also, only 5 pitchers consistently were under 20 seconds between pitches that threw more than 50 innings last year. That's a little eye-opening. I like it. As a former pitcher, I understand it's a rhythm thing. For me, I enjoyed throwing a pitch, getting the ball back, getting back on the rubber. I understand it's different for each guy. But 5 pitchers in the whole league, that seems low. And now it makes a little bit more sense why they're making this rule. Obviously to speed up the game, but when it's that many people, that many pitchers, then it makes more sense. I think last year, even though they already made some changes, I believe last year was the average game was like 3 hours and 5 minutes, which was like the longest in history. So the fact that you made some changes and it didn't get better, it actually got worse. And a lot of it has to do with replays, in my opinion. But the fact that it got worse, they have to implement something else because they are losing interest of people not able to sit down for 3 hours and watch a baseball game. It's happening. So if we can cut, I don't know, a half hour out of a baseball game, they're going to try. So there's a lot of players that are completely against it. I know Andrew Miller's one of them. He said it's completely ridiculous to have this rule. Changing the game is not okay. America's pastime, blah, 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 all that stuff. But there are a lot of players that are voicing their opinions about this. But here's the thing. The league can pass the rule for 2018 without the Players Association agreement. Even without the player agreement, they can implement the rule. Obviously, they would prefer that. They would prefer them to be on board with it. But if the players stand their ground, the commissioner and the league can just say, you know what, we're still going to go through with it. I don't know the logistics of it. I don't know how and why that is, but Buster Olney reported that they can still go through with it if they so choose to. So that's going to be something I'm going to keep an eye on, is what happens with the Players Association, because if they agree to it, obviously it's going to be implemented. But if they keep getting pushback, what's going to happen? That's something that's going to be really interesting to see. But that wraps it up for the headlines. Let's get right into against the spread this week. We got a lot of good college football games. That's this rivalry week. Man, I can't even talk.
It's in! You covered, yes, it's good!
Are you sure what's the final score?
Miami by 4! You covered 12!
I covered!
Yes!
What is against the spread? The spread?
So we have last week, bad week. It was a rough week against the spread. Of course, the biggest one for me, I thought the Bills were going to be rejuvenated with Nate Peterman in there. He got crushed. They looked awful. Just let me look at some of these other games that I had. I had the Rams. I thought they were going to be better than Minnesota. Denver got beat. Some of these games, Seattle, some of the games I thought I was pretty confident in just tore me up. So I went 8-11-1 last week. The one push being Detroit, which again, I couldn't believe that was a push. But anyway, this week, college football rivalry week. So we have Ohio State, Michigan. We have the Iron Bowl, Notre Dame and Stanford. We have the Apple Cup out west. I mean, some really good games. So I'll break down 4, and then we'll get into our NFL games. So Michigan and Ohio State, it's at the Big House. It's at Michigan. And Ohio State's favored by 12. The over-under is 50.5. So, first thing that comes to mind is the way Ohio State is playing. They got dominated and embarrassed by Iowa a couple weeks ago. And you can tell Urban Meyer kind of lit a fire. JT Barrett's a really good leader on that team, lit a fire, and they have dominated, to say the least, the last 2 games. Here's a stat that was insane to me. The Buckeyes have outgained opponents by 300 or more yards 6 times this year. That's crazy. That's insane. That's good. That's good on obviously both sides of the ball. And another key to this is Michigan doesn't know who their quarterback's going to be this week. They don't know who's going to be starting. We had the injury last week. We have no idea who's going to be their starting quarterback. But Michigan, until that injury, outplayed Wisconsin. They led 10-7 before he got hurt, and then Wisconsin scored 17 unanswered. So for me, with the combination of Michigan not knowing the quarterback, having questions at quarterback, having lackluster quarterback play all season, they've had a disappointing season overall. They were talking about a playoff run this year for themselves. Ohio State has that outside chance of being a playoff team, and I think right now they're playing their best football. I'm taking Ohio State to cover 12. The line, so if this game were in Columbus, I really think this would be a 14.5 line. I think this would be more than 2 touchdowns. So I'm pretty confident that I know Ohio State's a better team than Michigan. Regardless of who's at quarterback for Michigan, Ohio State is a better team. So, especially and the way they're playing, they are 2 touchdowns better than Michigan. And I hate to say that because I hate Ohio State, but they are 2 touchdowns better. The Iron Bowl, Alabama and Auburn. This game is going to be, if you love hard-hitting defensive football, I think this could be the game to watch. I mean, you have 2 of the best offenses, two of the best defenses, not offenses. 2 of the best rush defenses, and both teams have an opportunity for the college football playoff. Alabama, obviously undefeated, number 1. Auburn, the best 2-loss team. They just beat Georgia, so if they beat Alabama, they're going to the SEC championship game. The winner of this game is going to play for an SEC title. That is a lot on the line. With how good both defenses are, This game is going to come down to keeping drives alive, quarterback play. So Jalen Hurts and Jarrett Stidham, and not turning the ball over. I know it sounds simple, but it's so crucial to not turn the ball over in games like this and to have good quarterback efficiency. Not necessarily play. They don't need to throw for 400 yards. They're not Baker Mayfield out there. What they need is efficiency. Jalen Hurts, quarterback for Alabama, for those who don't know, has only thrown one interception all year. Always that cool, calm, collected look. Always makes what seems to be the intelligent choice. He will run, he will scramble, he will keep plays alive, drives alive, and that's what Alabama needs. He just has to avoid forcing the ball. He likes to take deep shots. Auburn's front is really good. They can have that safety over the top. So you got to watch out on those post routes or those goes to Ridley and Ruggs and some of those guys that like to stretch the field. Stidham, 16 touchdowns, 4 picks. Really good season for him. Here's the problem. Alabama's pass rush is one of the best in the nation. And he's not Jalen Hurts. He's not going to get out of the pocket. He's not going to run for 20 yards or anything like that. He might get out of the pocket and scramble for a couple. But the lack of, I guess, agility and speed could be the difference in a 3rd and 4 converting it, or throwing the ball away, taking a sack, or turning it over. So I think that's the thing that's going to hurt Auburn's offense, is he's not going to be able to pose a threat on the ground. We saw what happened with Alabama's defense against Deshaun Watson, or any quarterback that can scramble a little bit. Fitzgerald from Mississippi State. He caused the problem because he could get out and run. Stidham's not that guy. So I think that's going to put Alabama's mind at ease. That kind of takes a dimension away. But the two teams, I think they're really close in talent-wise. They're really close. If I were to pick, I would say Bama covers the 4.5 with a really, a late field goal, or a touchdown to put them up 10 points, or put them up 6 points, something like that, with a minute to go or something like that. But with the defenses, these two defenses, as good as they are, the under 47.5 is always going to be tempting to me. Just because this has a making of a 17-13 game, potentially. You never know with these teams. But at the same time, both offenses, they have playmakers. They might, get into the 20s, but I don't know if it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. I don't think we're going to see a Big 12, shootout or anything like that. This is going to be relatively low scoring. Notre Dame at Stanford. Notre Dame's favored by 2.5. The over-under is 57. So here's what's intriguing about this matchup. Obviously, the rivalry game. Both teams are ranked. That's obviously one thing. But here's the other thing. Two of the best running backs in the country are going to be featured in this game. Josh Adams from Notre Dame and Bryce Love from Stanford. That's what I'm watching this game for. That's why I want to watch this game. Just a few notes here. Notre Dame is 0-4 in the last 4 road games at Stanford. Now, this team is drastically better than the previous teams, especially recent teams from Notre Dame. I just think this game is going to be more of a defensive battle than people think it's going to be. The over-under is 57. That seems really high. Maybe the bookmakers know something that the public doesn't know. I'm not expecting a 9-7 game or anything like that, or a game as low scoring as possibly the Alabama-Auburn game. But this game could be 27-20, 21-20, something like that. I'm not likely to play the line on this game, although I do like, just because Notre Dame is a better team, in my opinion, just more rounded, a better team. I would look to them. I'm likely to sit on the sidelines for it, but I would look to them, and I would also look at the under. Most likely, I'd play the under than anything in this game. And then the last college game that's between ranked teams, the Apple Cup. Washington State at Washington. Washington is favored by 9.5. The over-under is 48.5. At one point this game, one of my first podcasts since joining the B.S.N network, I said this game could have playoff implications. Not so much anymore. Both teams are 9-2. They've had a pretty good year. Here's what this comes down to. Washington State, the Cougars have something to play for. If they win, they're going to the Pac-12 title game. That's huge. That puts a little pep in your step as you go out onto the field, knowing that if you win this game, you're going to play for a conference title. If Washington is going to win this game, they're going to have to put pressure on Luke Falk, which isn't going to be super difficult. They have a great pass rush. It's not as good as last year's, but it is a good pass rush. They have 33 sacks on the year, and Washington State loves to throw the ball. They're going to throw the ball 30 plus times, most likely. So if you let Luke Falk sit back there and throw the ball, you're going to get eaten up. Receivers are going to find openings. You're going to get torn up. So you're going to have to get after them. Washington State has had 2 weeks off, 2 bye weeks in a row. So they better be well rested, and they better be prepared for this Washington team. Because I'll tell you what, Jake Browning on the other side and that Washington offense is going to try and put up points. So that defense better be ready from Washington State. 2 weeks off, though, to rest and prepare, I think is huge, is monumental, huge, and an unbelievable advantage for Washington State. It's very reasonable to think that with 2 weeks off, that they should keep this game within 10 points. With the line at 9.5, and you have that much time to prepare, you should be able to keep this game within 10 points. And I would be very surprised if they didn't win this game outright. I think the teams are... Washington's a little bit of a better team. With 2 weeks to prepare and everyone healthy, fresh, everything like that, that gives you the advantage. I don't think there's that much of a gap where if Washington State is 100% prepared, rested, plays a good football game, that they don't come out on top. I think Washington State has a very good chance of winning this game, and I also don't see it too difficult for these two teams to go over the 48.5. Both teams have offenses that can easily put up 40 points themselves. I think it's reasonable for them to score 4 touchdowns. So I'm going to say Washington State plus 9.5 is my play for this game. So that's my college 4 games that I'm definitely going to be watching. Obviously, there's some other games I'm going to be watching. But But those are the biggest games. Now we're going to get into this NFL. As always, we're going to just go through the slate this week. We have the Vikings at the Lions. This is Thanksgiving night. Vikings -3. I'm going to take the Vikings -3. Chargers at the Cowboys. Chargers -1. I'm going to take. I don't know if I like this, but I'm going to take the Cowboys +1. I understand what the Chargers just did to the Bills. I don't expect Dak to turn it over like Nate Peterman did. So I'm going to take the Cowboys +1 at home on Thanksgiving. The Giants at the Redskins. Redskins -7.5. Giants just got a huge win against the Chiefs. That does not make them a good team. They're still awful, but they're not 7.5 points worse than the Redskins. They might be a touchdown worse, but that hook's going to help us out. The Browns at the Bengals. Bengals -8. I am going to take the Bengals just because the Browns are the Browns. They're bad. They're a bad team. The Bengals, I think they're going to win this game by 10 or more. The Bears at the Eagles. Eagles -13.5. That seems like a big line to me, and the Bears haven't been playing awful. But the way the Eagles have been playing, they're just destroying teams. So I'm going to take them by at least 2 touchdowns. The Dolphins at the Patriots. This is the biggest line of the weekend. Patriots -16.5. I mean, I've seen the Dolphins get blown out by 40 points. I've seen them get beat badly. The Patriots, the way their defense is playing, the way Tom Brady's playing, 17 seems reasonable. I'm going to take the Patriots to cover that. The Bills at the Chiefs. The Chiefs looked bad against the Giants. The Bills, that was a dumpster fire what just happened. I couldn't even begin to tell you what that game was. I'm assuming Tyrod Taylor will be back in the starting lineup. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Regardless of who's in there, the Chiefs are going to come out and at home, and they're going to have a fire lit under them after that loss they had last week. I think they're going to cover the 10. So Chiefs -10. Bucks at the Falcons. The Falcons, big win against the Seahawks last week. I think they're 10 points better than the Bucks. They're -10. I think they cover. The Panthers at the Jets. The Panthers are -4.5. The Jets at home +4.5. I'm going to take them. Titans at the Colts. Titans -3.5. This game I didn't have picked beforehand. I'm still undecided. I'm going to go Colts +3.5. I think the Titans, if they win this game, they win by a late field goal, putting them up 3 points or putting them up 2 points, something like that. I'm going to take the Colts to +3.5. Seahawks at the 49ers. Seahawks only 7-point favorites against the 49ers. I say only 7 points, but they're on the road. I think they cover 7 against the 49ers. Saints at the Rams. This is going to be a great matchup. Rams are favored by 2.5. Rams are a really good team. The Saints offense looks amazing of late. I think just because the Saints offense is so good, I'm gonna pick them to cover the 2.5. So Saints +2.5. Jaguars at the Cardinals. Jags are +4.5. I'm gonna take the Cards +4.5. Broncos at the Raiders. Raiders -5. Man, these two teams are the last two opponents for the Patriots. I'm gonna go Broncos. I'm gonna go Broncos +5. Their defense should be better. They got a new offensive coordinator in there. Maybe they get a little spark from that. But I don't think they're as bad as people think. I know their quarterback's bad. Their defense is got to be better than what they've shown. So I'm taking the Broncos +5. Packers at the Steelers. Steelers -14. I mean, Packers know Aaron Rodgers. It's just so hard. The Steelers are one of the best, if not the best defense in the NFL. And then they have all those playmakers on offense. I think the Steelers minus 14 is what I'm going to take there. And the Texans at the Ravens. Ravens minus 7. They look good last week, so I'm going to take them minus 7. So I'm going to go Ravens minus 7. So I have, how many underdogs do I have this week? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 dogs this week. I don't know what my most is, but that's got to be close. 7 dogs this week in the NFL. The NFL is just so tough. It's so weird. One team will go out and put a rookie quarterback out there. He'll throw, 6 interceptions and be benched by halftime, but they'll give up 55 points or whatever, and you just never know what's going to happen. So we'll see what happens this week. Here's a new thing I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do what we should be looking out for this week. Some of the things, as you know, this is a weekly show. So in between recording time, here's some of the things that you should, if you have time, turn on the TV, check these things out, or do a little reading, find out what's going on. So first, Celtics go for win number 17 against the Heat. They also play the Magic, Pacers, and Pistons before the next episode, so they could run it up 18-19 to 20 wins before you listen to the next episode. That's insane. I hope they do it. That's once a team's on a winning streak, you just want them to keep going, see how long it can ride out. If you're a baseball fan, all this baseball offseason talk with the rule changes, obviously any moves that happen, especially Giancarlo or some of the other guys that are on the move. I can't think of them right now. I'm drawing a blank, but obviously Giancarlo Stanton's a huge one. College hoops fans, if you're into some college hoops, there's some good games coming up this week. Wednesday night, number 2 Arizona at undefeated NC State. That game's at 7 o'clock. Thanksgiving, if you're up late, and I mean late on the East Coast, or if you're on the West Coast, you might want to tune in to number 17 Gonzaga against 4-0 Ohio State. That game tips off at 11:59. I'll be in bed, but if you have a chance to check that out, that's probably going to be a pretty good game. Saturday at 5 p.m., number 25 Alabama will be playing number 14 Minnesota. And then I didn't write down what day this was. I believe it's Sunday, 10 p.m. Number 16 Texas A&M and number 10 USC. So those are some things to be looking out for, among other things like the NFL. I know there's a lot going on with Jerry Jones and other owners against Roger Goodell. Always be on the lookout for that. If you always want some comedy in your sports life, check out anything that has to do with LeVar Ball. He was recently on CNN and decided that he wanted to spend, I don't know how long it was, 30 seconds, a minute, demanding that the CNN host thank him for being on the show. And then, obviously, the whole thing with his son stealing in China, saying that, it was overplayed, that Trump helped and all this stuff. So if you want some comic relief, check out anything that LeVar Ball has said in the past week. Obviously, guys, it's Thanksgiving. I'm so thankful for, everything, especially all my listeners and the B.S.N network for having me on. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Safe travels to you, your friends, your family. Enjoy the short week if you have it. Enjoy the great food. I know I will. And enjoy a great 4 days of sports coming up starting Thanksgiving. It's going to be amazing. Until next time, guys.